mixture of the different suggestions and ideas that the three of us had separately, and we did meet together to go over particularly the price aspects of recommendations for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. We'll hear from you again shortly. Very good. And we'd like to move on to Heather Patterson, Art of the Park.
Hi, my name is Heather Patterson. I'm an artist in Rye and a Rye resident, and the last couple of years at the park we've had a small juried exhibit with the help of Bill Lawyer, Art of the Park, where we've had a few artists display their work for a day, sell their work. We had a little juried art competition where they won a ribbon. What I'd like to propose for this upcoming spring, and this is a pre-season event taking place in May, I had dropped off some papers with Bishop, which hopefully you all have, listing my dates that I'd prefer. But what I'd like to propose is more of an arts weekend at the park, something to really bring out the local community, get some of our friends and neighbors who haven't been utilizing the park, get them to come out and see it in a whole new light. Essentially what the proposal entails for the Arts Weekend is on the first day we would have something called a plein air paint out, which would consist of artists on location throughout the park painting scenes of the park right there. So people can come, walk around the park, see the artists working, talk to them, interact with them. It's almost like an interactive art exhibit. And while that's going on, there would also be an exhibit of the artists' work up in the pavilions that would be for sale, as well as some live music going on and perhaps a food stand from Seaside Johnny's. That would be the Saturday day event. That evening, we would have a cocktail party and reception for the artists. It would be a ticketed event where a portion, hopefully, of the proceeds would go to Friends of Rytown Park to support their efforts in the park. And later that evening, we would have a silent auction of the works painted that day at the park. And once again, the Friends of Rytown Park would receive part of that. The next day would consist of an arts and music festival similar to what I just organized on the boardwalk at Playland this past October, where we would have the artists who had been painting the day before. They would have booths exhibiting and selling their work. We would also have craftspeople and other artists join them as well, so we would have jewelry, ceramics, glassware, and so on available as well. And also, again, live music up in the pavilions during the day, as well as a continuation of the exhibit from the day before. Essentially, again, what does this do for Rytown Park? And again, it brings out the community. When we did the Arts and Music Festival at Playland, we had several thousand people from the community come out. It was a great event. I think this event could be just as successful, and I think it would be very unique due to all the components. The other thing that this can do for Rytown Park, it can also bring in a new stream of revenue. You would have revenue from the artist booths, as well as revenue from any parking that would be charged that day. My estimates based on about 15 participating artists painting, as well as about 25 craftspeople just from the booths and a few sponsorships alone, I think we can make almost $3,000 for the park. That can also be increased. I kind of view this as a win-win for everybody. The park would make money, and again, this is all broken down in the proposal. The park would make some money off of it. Friends of Rytown Park could raise some money off of it, and again, it's a great opportunity for local artists and musicians. So that's essentially it. Do you have any questions?
I have actually one question. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a cultural opportunity. It's pre-season. My question is the date that you're proposing, which is May 14th, May 15th. I know this sounds crazy. Is that Mother's Day weekend? And with that,
you know what?
If you want it to be successful, you want to make sure that you get as many people out, including the people who will be displaying, if we agree to go that route.
Right.
So I just want to...
I'm not sure on that.
I don't remember which Mother's Day.
I don't think it is,
Second
but I'm not
Sunday
sure.
of May, right?
I don't remember. I always forget which
Right.
weekend it is. But it's something to just take a look at.
Okay.
But I think it's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I would just add, we have the... Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
We have the Rye Arts Center
If it's the-
in Rye. Would it be some kind of joint arrangement with them, or?
No, I would be producing this myself. I have
Okay.
connections with the Westchester Arts Council as well as with a lot of local artists. I had actually invited the Rye Arts Center to participate in my Boardwalk Arts and Music Festival. Unfortunately, they are very busy with their own programs
Okay.
and outreach, so it's kind of hard to get them
Yeah.
always involved in the new things.
Yes, and-
I would love for them to be involved,
Right.
and I will certainly put it out to them, but I can't guarantee their involvement.
Because they have asked us to shut down Purchase Street and do something similar along Purchase Street. This is maybe 2 years ago. So it sounds like the same type of concept. So.
It is the same type of concept. Again, the park is certainly a unique location, and I think this particular program, what I'm proposing, is unique because you actually have artists there painting at the park
Right.
as well. So it's a little bit, it's almost a combination of what they do for their painters on location every September, although they scatter them throughout the county now. We're going to concentrate them at the park and make the park the focus. So it's sort of a combination of that, which they've done, as well as the art to music part that I've most recently done.
Commissioner Sack?
Sounds good to me, too. Win-win is the key phrase that I latched onto.
One other
Yes.
question. The only other question I have is whether or not staff has looked at the additional costs that the park may be incurred as far as additional staff, et cetera, whether or not it be nominal and
Mr.
offset
Lawyer.
by some of the revenue that would flow into.
Mr. Laura?
I think this plan does include some staff time in terms
Yeah.
of setting up tables, moving the display panels, a sound system. There'd be an expense involved in the sound system. I think you're including some minor payments to the musicians who'd be playing. So,
into account in my
Yeah.
estimates.
so we have an indication of what the cost would be as far as those things. There's the liability issue, which I'm not sure exactly. I guess the town attorney could clarify if there's any need for any certificate of insurance or anything like that. I'm just not really sure. And then, of course, the other issue with any of these outdoor events is, you do have the rain dates. Would you have, if it rained one day and not the other day, would you put everything off to the next weekend, or would you have one day one weekend and one the next?
I think you really have to look at it as a whole package, the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to either be one or the other,
way it is.
yeah. So that, obviously, that could be an issue, but I think we are aware of that. Certainly the park is the weather is always a factor in every aspect, but you don't want to not do something just because the weather might not be good. So my feeling is, of course, it's up to the commission, but we, give it a try, assuming that the legal and those liability issues, and I don't know if we've come up with a number of how much staff time is involved, but it would be a few hours, and not a huge amount.
I think it'd be minimal, and
Yeah.
I think it would depend on, again, the weather. If the weather is projected to be good, we should have a good turnout. And if we have a good turnout, obviously you'll need people there to help direct parking or what have you.
Mr. Lawyer, you brought up the 2 points that I wanted to touch on. One being, what is the two liabilities? Liability for the event ultimately would be the weather. And so the rain date, successive rain weekends, something we need to plan for. And then obviously insurance. The town of Rye, the Rye Town Park, City of Rye, I don't think that they would want to be in a position where they have to take out the additional liability or the additional certificate.
How did it work with the one at Playland?
Well, with the one at Playland, we kept it very simple. We essentially just had all the artists and musicians. They were responsible for their own artwork, equipment, anything with, there was, essentially it was written in the artist informational contract that Playland was liable for nothing. Myself as the organizer and John Ambrose as my partner, we were also liable for nothing. It's essentially if your artwork got damaged due to weather or whatever, that was your problem.
Yeah, I'm really not concerned about the artwork.
Okay.
I'm concerned about the exposure of the Rye Town Park. So let's say your artist is there and doing something, and something happens to the artist. I want to make sure that the Rye Town Park as a whole is protected.
We didn't write that into the artist contract.
Well, I think we're going to look, well, and we'll discuss this with our insurance carrier, Bishop.
Yep.
Okay, and we'll discuss it with the town attorney to see, excuse me one second, Mr. Gioffre, and to see what we feel is best for us.
Okay.
And I'm sure the commission agrees. We want to reduce the liability, and we'll let you know, probably through Mr. Lawyer, what you will need to do to satisfy that request.
Okay.
Okay? All in all, I think this is a great idea, and it's going to be good exposure, both for the arts and ultimately for the Rydtown Park.
So could we say that, I know you have some idea, you want to be able to move forward as soon as possible, so could we set it like a time when you'd be able to get back to her as far as this issue?
I'm sure Bishop Sylvia could turn around in a month.
You guys, well, certainly,
Less than a month?
easily.
Okay.
Say 2 weeks?
Tonight?
I would think, what we're talking about here is crafting a specific waiver of responsibility, which the artist would have to agree to in order to participate. Beyond that, Rydtown Park does have its own liability insurance. Remember, we're handling up to 2,000 to 3,000 people a day during the summertime. So our insurance covers us for the kinds of events where we would be, for example, a co-sponsor in this particular case.
Okay.
So I would say to you that insurance, other than the individual waivers, and perhaps Attorney Noto would be able to weigh in, an individual waiver would be sufficient if properly crafted.
Okay. I agree with Commissioner French, and I think that we could take action tonight.
So make a motion that we authorize the staff to move forward with this proposal for
Okay.
art in the park.
Do you have a second?
Second?
Second.
Okay.
That was a little slow. Is there something?
I almost thought Bishop was seconding it,
Well,
you know?
I just want to make sure, it's subject to making sure
Right.
that you said before that we're co-sponsored, that we have the adequate insurance, whether or not there needs to be a particular rider for this particular event. So it's subject making sure that we are protected, that
Good.
the park is protected. That's why I hesitated.
Commissioner French as amended?
Yes. as-
Okay, very good.
Okay, Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Feinstein?
Yes.
Mayor French?
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Villanova?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Heather, good luck. We look forward to working with you. And Mr. Lawyer, thank you very much for all of your hard work.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll go into the staff recommendations for the 2011 season.
Yeah,
This is a lengthy report, and I think that a lot of the dialogue that's in here is important. But I'd like to take, for me, Bishop, when you're talking to this document, please elaborate on number 3, maintenance and public safety related priorities for 2011.
Okay.
Some concerns there.
Again, this is a culmination of all of the senior staff coming together, pulling recommendations independently, and we then collectively pool them and try to prioritize them and sort them into some rational ways that the Commission can look at them. They are far-ranging. They cover a lot of pricing options and scenarios. And you can see them there. I don't know if we want to go through each one of them. They talk about cash operations. One of the key things is we do want to implement credit cards at all booths. That's one of the recommendations that we'd like to consider. Also considering mechanical arms and gates, etc. The key thing, however, is that coming out of this discussion, there were a large number of maintenance and public safety issues that surfaced. And I think those are the critical ones that perhaps we should at least make sure we're aware of. The 2 beach tunnels, I'm not going to say that they're a disaster ready to happen, but we do have problems with the steps rotting out on the men's side. They're metal steps going to the bathrooms there. The bathrooms are in terrible shape. The Commission should actually take a tour and visit. The stalls are actually rotting out and so forth. We have to constantly repair them. The entrance ramps to both the middle and south gates, we now have enough experience to know that they're not ADA compliant. and B, that they do present a danger. We actually have a person that regularly, and when I say regularly, about once an hour, sweeps it, blows it down to try and make sure that people can walk up the ramp because it's